Hello and welcome to a special midweek episode of Empire Sports Talk. We were traveling over the weekend, so we didn't get a chance to do an episode, but we wanted to get to you because there's a lot to go over. If you're watching on YouTube or you're a longtime listener of the podcast, I teased a few weeks ago that we had a new addition coming to the studio. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see behind me we have a Ken the Snake Stabler jersey just behind my head. And for those who have listened for a while and kind of know who I am and everything, you'll know how important that jersey is to me. Not because I'm a huge Kenny the Snake Stabler fan, and it is a Raiders jersey for those who are listening online, but because Kenny Stabler's cousin was my grandfather, Henry Stabler, who was the most important person in my life for the first 26 years, and I miss him every day. He passed away in 2018, and because he's my dad's stepdad and a shining example of stepfathers out there, kind of took us under his wing and he didn't have any children of his own. Helped raise the grandchildren as if they were his children. None of us share his DNA or his last name. My brother's first name is Stabler after my grandfather, so having that name on the wall behind me is a very sentimental thing for me here doing this podcast at Empire Sports Talk. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the jersey right here behind me, the black Raiders jersey framed behind me with the name Stabler on it means a lot to me. Jumping right into the meat of the podcast, I first and foremost want to congratulate a couple of points related milestones. First, I want to congratulate LeBron James for being the first player in NBA history to reach the 40,000 point plateau. He's already the all time leading scorer, so of course he would be the first one to do it. And LeBron James is not done. There's still a handful of games in this season. He's shown no sign that this was going to be his final season. It's possible because he teased it after last year. It's possible he's going to be 40. He's going to be 40 halfway through the year next year. So it's always possible. It doesn't look like Bronny's gonna, if he's gonna get drafted this year, it's probably not gonna be very high. So he's likely going to stay at USC another year. So this very well could be it for LeBron James. I don't think it will be because he hasn't really mentioned it. And it definitely feels like when LeBron decides it's time, we'll get a farewell tour of sorts. So LeBron could easily push this record to 41, 42,000, maybe even 43. And I just don't see, I'm not willing to say it's unbreakable because we thought that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's number was unbreakable and LeBron got it, especially for being in his career not seen as a prolific scorer. Although that's kind of funny that we still talk about him that way given his records, but as we always viewed him more of a Scottie Pippen kind of doing everything more than a Michael or a Kobe. That he's put up the records he has, not just for points, but for assists and rebounds. But more, it's a testament to health. It's a testament that in year 21, at age 39, he is still playing the vast majority of games. He is still putting up huge numbers. He has absolutely destroyed any record as far as your 21st season, because I think the only company there was Vince Carter, who averaged 8 points, maybe 8 points in his 21st season. LeBron is among the leading scorers in the NBA. I don't know exactly where he sits, but he's right around his career average. And I do want to point this out just as a funny thing. LeBron's career averages for his career are 27, 7, and 7. And yet, I saw this stat this week that LeBron James has never had a game in which he finished with 27, 7, and 7. I just want to take a minute to congratulate him and say that I'm not willing to say that it's unbreakable, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. The next closest person, as far as active players on the scoring list, is Kevin Durant, who's currently ninth on the all-time list. But Kevin Durant, who many people say is the pure scorer that maybe LeBron James hasn't been in his career, Kevin Durant only has 28,427 points to date, which is 12,000 behind LeBron. And KD turns 36 in September. So KD is not even three-fourths of the way to LeBron. and his career is definitely three-fourths of the way over. He's had a lot of injuries in recent years. He's had a lot of ankle problems. I don't see him playing to 39 and 40, at least to the level that LeBron is. So Kevin Durant isn't going to get to 40,000. The person that has the best chance, I don't think anyone in the league right now is going to get it. I think it's going to be somebody way down the line, much like LeBron was way down the line from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We had the era of Michael and AI and Kobe and a lot of great scorers, and they never reached it. Now, for longtime listeners of the podcast, I did Michael only played 13 full seasons and still was is currently third on the all-time list, I believe, fourth now probably. And I did project what his point totals would be if he played as long as Kareem and LeBron did. Y'all did not like that. It did come out to around 45,000, but let's not revisit that. If you want to go revisit it, go revisit it. I believe it had GOAT in the title. If you want to go revisit my projection of a 20-year Michael Jordan career, go ahead and do it. But I'm not here to talk about that. Um, it just goes to show you how hard it is to stay healthy in this league, and staying healthy in this league, and that's the most important thing here. Staying healthy in sports isn't always up to you. And LeBron James has been, for the most part, very, very fortunate that he has kept away from the injury bug. He's gotten bit a little bit late in his career, but with the exception, he did have one injury with the Lakers that kept him out most of the season, but that was only a couple years ago, and for the most part, that's the first time that happened to him. Um, so this is a testament to longevity, and LeBron has taken great care of himself to be playing at this level at 39. Um, to be at 40,000 and counting. The next person I think that has a chance to do it is Luka Doncic, who currently is averaging 28.5 points a game in his career, and he's only 25. He was a rookie at 19, and that's one of the reasons why people are um, comparing, bringing up his name as people that have a chance, because the Euro kind of invasion that's happened in the NBA recently is very offensive focused, and Luca is very much an offensive juggernaut, averaging 28.5 a game. He's got at 25, he's got almost 11,000 points. But for Luka Doncic at this point in his career to reach 40,000 by the time it's all said and done, he would have to average 27.7 a game for the next 15 years, all while playing 70 plus games, which he hasn't done since his rookie year when he played 72. Since then, he hasn't played more than 66 in a season. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think it's going to happen in this generation of the NBA is because even though the league is taking sh- measures to stop the resting of players when they're healthy, this is still an era of sitting and not necessarily playing your hardest every night. So that's one of the reasons why I don't think it's going to happen in this generation of the NBA, if at all. Um, but also, Luca has made it clear in the past that he has no intention of sticking around the NBA for 20 years, maybe not even 15. He said in a press conference one time, "It's like I'm not going to play for very long." So I don't think Luke is going to end up being on any kind of scoring list because he doesn't sound like he has an interest in playing 15 more years, which is what he would need to do with those averages to reach 40,000. So I don't think that's an option. But also, I do want to point out that LeBron James has been doing what he's been doing for forever in his career. LeBron averaged 20.9 as a rookie while playing 79 games, the only person ever to put up more points in his age 19 rookie season is Carmelo Anthony, who was drafted in the same '03 draft as LeBron James. Luca had a higher average as a rookie at 21.2, but as I stated, LeBron played 79 games, 78 games, 79 games, and Luca played 72. So LeBron actually scored about 130 points more than Luca did in his age 19 rookie season. So LeBron's durability, stability, consistency is what's brought him here. And I know I give LeBron a lot of crud on this show and in the past, but just like I did when he broke the scoring record, I want to take a moment to congratulate King James on being the king of the NBA scoring list, as well as the first ever to reach 40,000 points. I don't know if anyone's ever going to reach 40,000 again, probably, but the fact that LeBron James, this probably isn't his last year, will probably run this number up to 41 or 42, is that might be unreachable. So congratulations to LeBron James on reaching 40,000. Moving to the college game, I want to give another all-time mention to Caitlin Clark of the Iowa Hawkeyes, who is now the all-time NCAA basketball scoring leader, men's or women. And I know there's a lot of people out there. I've seen a lot of comments that be like, "Oh, it doesn't count. Pistol Pete is still the guy. That's women, but women's basketball, it's different." Blah 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 blah. All the things. And sports is a game of comparison. I get it. Like you look at two. We compare Michael to LeBron. We compare Michael to Kobe. We compare Hank Aaron to Barry Bonds. We compare all these things. And so I will acknowledge those things and say that Pistol Pete did it in a men's game, um, where freshmen weren't allowed to play and there was no 3-point line. So Pistol Pete's numbers were put up in 3 years with no three-pointer. And I think I read somewhere that if they kind of assume where the 3-point line is now, that there are 15 shots a game where Pistol Pete would have had a three, so that number would be even more unreachable if there had been a 3-point line. I get it. I get that he only played 83 games and Caitlin Clark is has played 130. I get that Antoine Davis of Detroit Mercy played something like 144 and still didn't reach Pistol Pete. I understand that. But this is a numbers record. And Caitlin Clark, pure and simple, passed the number. You can say what you want about it being women's basketball. You can say what you want about oh, it's not as tough, or oh this, or oh that, or any number of lame excuses. And the no 3-point line thing is valid because Caitlin Clark shoots a lot of threes. It's valid. But because this is a points record, because this is a points milestone, we have to stand back and acknowledge Caitlin Clark. The number was there. The number to beat was there. Antoine Davis didn't do it. Caitlin Clark did. Nobody had done it for what, 60 years? Caitlin Clark did it. And she still has another year of eligibility to play if she wants, I believe. But she's going to the WNBA. Caitlin Clark did it. So a couple weeks ago when I said Caitlin Clark is the most exciting player in college basketball right now, and I got a lot of crud, she is. We're talking about her. We're talking about that she's got the record, regardless of what you think about her and Pistol Pete. And Pistol Pete is one of the best players to ever pick up a basketball, college or NBA. Absolutely. What he did in the amount of games that he did it in is insane. But his number is what his number is. Caitlin Clark has now passed it and stands alone on the all-time NCAA men's and women's record books. So congratulations to Caitlin Clark. And she is making, and I don't mean this to sound harsh, but she's making women's college basketball watchable in a way that it hasn't been in the past. And everybody's got their eyes on the WNBA because she's coming. And it's good for women's sports that there's a Caitlin Clark out there. So just like I did for LeBron James, I want to take a step back and congratulate without any opinions of Pistol Pete, of Antoine Davis, of it being a women's game. Take a moment and appreciate Caitlin Clark. Appreciate what we're looking at. You know, I spent so long disliking Tom Brady because I was a die-hard Peyton Manning fan, and I still am. And I spent so long disliking Tom Brady because he beat Peyton and the Colts so often in the playoffs because he won all those Super Bowls without a lot of parity, which I am a fan of in sports. But there comes a point, and I would I would go blue in the face saying, "Oh, Joe Montana is the greatest of all time because he's 4-0 in Super Bowls." Partly because I just didn't like Tom Brady. And then he won in Tampa. And I took a step back and I said, "You have to appreciate greatness while you're watching it, regardless of personal feelings, because one day it's going to be gone." And Caitlin Clark's career in basketball, barring some horrible injury, is hopefully just getting started. But that is the reason why I wanted to take a step back and congratulate LeBron James. Is regardless of personal feelings, he did what he did. 40,000. That's incredible. All-time leading scorer. Incredible. I want to do the same thing for Caitlin Clark, regardless of where she is in her career. She broke a record. She broke. Numbers don't lie. She broke the record. So congratulations, Caitlin Clark. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing what you do next in the WNBA. The next thing I want to touch on, and he's not doing himself any favors at this point. Caleb Williams, the NFL Combine was last week in Indianapolis, and there were several players that decided not to participate. And I think this is a problem with NIL is we're giving these college kids there's a little too much entitlement from these college kids that have proved nothing in the NFL. But I just want to talk about Caleb Williams here because he seems to be spearheading it. Caleb Williams seems to be the poster child for NIL. He's made the most. He's been the most vocal about it. He's said the most things that raise eyebrows ahead of playing a snap in the NFL. And like I don't think Marvin Harrison participated, and there were a few other big players that didn't participate. But Caleb Williams, who is going to be the number one pick by all accounts with the Chicago Bears, decided not to throw or undergo any of the medical testing at the combine. And you can make that decision, just like you can make a decision not to play in your bowl game if you're declaring. I think that's a selfish decision in college wise. I understand you don't want to get hurt, blah 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 blah. You can make the decision to not appear at or not appear at the combine. That's fine. But then he said this on his decision not to throw at the combine. Caleb Williams says, "I didn't feel the need to go out and throw. I played around 30 something games, I believe. Go ahead and watch real live ball of me and see how I am as a competitor." It's like, yeah, they can do that. They can do that with all of you. But seeing someone on tape and seeing someone in person are two different things. And this is these coaches' chance to see you and see what you can do in drills and sessions that are designed to give them an idea of who you're going to be at this level. Because the NFL and college football are two completely separate worlds. And Caleb Williams choosing not to throw because, oh, I've played college football, just go watch my tape, is one of the most arrogant things I've ever heard. It's like you know you're going to be the number one overall pick. You know you're going to be a millionaire. You already are because of NIL. And Caleb Williams, with all the other comments that either he's made or his father's made about only wanting to play for these certain teams and only wanting to go to a team if there's an ownership stake, is the most entitled, arrogant, unappreciative thing I've ever heard from a college athlete. I equate it, and I know it's different. I know it's different because he's going to be the number one overall pick. But I equate Caleb Williams deciding not to throw and say, go look at college as somebody being, if I was looking for a new job, if I decided to leave the job that I had and I put my resume out there and a Fortune 500 company called me and they said, "Hey, Roman, we have seen your resume and we like what we see. We want to bring you in for an interview for this position that will set you up for life, that will pay you more than you thought you'd be able to make, that will give you everything that you want." And I said, especially if this was me coming out of college, but I've been in the workforce for a while now, so it I would still be appreciative of that offer. Don't get me wrong, I'd be like, that's incredible. But Caleb Williams is coming out of college. If this was happening to me at 22 and they said, "We want to bring you in for an interview to give you everything you want based on what you've done in college, but we want to bring you in for an interview." If I said, no, look at my resume, you said you liked what you saw, so give me the job, without me even talking to them in person, no one in their right mind would hire me. No one who has half a brain would say, that's the guy I want to represent our company. And for me personally, if I was a scout, if I was a GM, and I'd seen Caleb Williams' tape, which this year at USC, there are a lot of things that scouts and GMs and these draft people are raising concern over. There are things that are concerning, but we're not even talking about that. I do think he's a great player. He's as solid as a player as you can have in the draft. But if I saw all the other things, if I saw I don't need to throw, if I saw I only want to play for these teams, if I saw this me before team attitude that he clearly has, I don't care how good he is. There is no way that I'd say that's the cornerstone of my franchise for the next 10 or 12 years. Because it's clear he's a me first. It's clear. They're talking about guys like Mac Jones and Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield, who from the onset of their journey in the NFL looked to be clear me first guys. And I will say I will take Baker Mayfield out right now as he seems to have turned over a new leaf and accepted new roles in the NFL. So it's not even that anymore. But Johnny Manziel's a wildly different player. But there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence in your ability and arrogance that you should don't have to do anything for anybody because you're so awesome. And what Caleb Williams doesn't seem to realize is I've said this before, but it bears repeating again in this situation. Is if you act like hot crap in high school because you have all the offers from colleges, you're going to get hit in the mouth by college football. Or if you act like hot crap in college football because you know you're going to go to the NFL, you're going to get hit in the mouth by the NFL. Maybe not physically by the linemen, but you're going to get hit in the mouth by GMs and owners that evaluate you and and offer you contracts and get to talk to you. And you might be doing interviews. I think he is doing interviews in the process, but he's not throwing and he's not because I've done it already. Go look at tape. That's not about at at this point in your journey at the NFL Combine. It's not about what you did in college. That ends when your last game ends. And need I remind everyone that as long as Caleb Williams has been hot crap in college, he hasn't made a playoff. He hasn't really threatened to make a playoff. I mean, there was a moment last season, but so he's not infallible. He leans in for the big play when the sure gain is right in front of him. He's not infallible. He's not God's gift to football. So, but what you did in college ends when you step off a college campus. The second the draft process starts, the second the combine begins, the second the NFL draft takes place. It's not what did you do? It's what do we think you're going to do? Because we've seen a bunch of college players that didn't have that equivalent success at the next level. Tim Tebow, Johnny Manziel, Vince Young, Ryan Leaf. The list goes on. The NFL is different. And that's why I brought up Johnny Manziel a little bit ago, is because he acted like he was hot crap, and the NFL ate him alive. I think he was out of the league in less than 5 years. The NFL ate him alive. Add on to that it seems that Caleb Williams is going to go to an organization that doesn't nurture its players and get the most out of them. It's not like you're going to go into the cushiest facilities with the best coaches, with the best roster, with the best. You're going to the worst team. That's how the draft works. The Bears are not going to be good even if you play lights out. It's not going to be a CJ Stroud Houston Texans situation because they had pieces. They had a great head coach. They had great coordinators. It's not going to be that. It's going to be rough. There's a reason why they have a show called Hey Rookie, Welcome to the NFL. There's a reason why every professional athlete has a welcome to the league story where they get put on their back because they weren't ready. No matter how ready you think you are, something's going to happen that's going to make you realize how ridiculous this is. And I'm not saying Caleb Williams won't be good in the NFL. I'm saying he needs to humble himself real quick. Everybody's there to see you. Because until recently, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that Chicago was going to take you. Because everybody was wondering, are they going to keep Fields? Are they going to trade the pick? Are they going to do this? So if you're acting like I'm hot crap, I'm not going to throw. I know how good I am. You know how good I am. Whatever. What if Washington is sitting there at 2 being like, don't like that answer? What if New England's sitting there at 3? Don't like that answer. Look what happened to Aaron Rodgers. He was supposed to go either 1 or 2 with Alex Smith in 2005. They took Alex Smith number 1. Aaron Rodgers fell to 24. And that at the time was inexplicable. We're like, we wonder why this is happening. We don't know. Caleb Williams, we know. Social media is everywhere. Sports news outlets are everywhere. Microphones are everywhere. Phones are everywhere. We know every word Caleb Williams has said leading up to this situation, and he's not doing himself any favor with these comments. I know how good I am. Watch my 30 something college games. Go watch and see me as a competitor. I don't feel the need to throw. It's not about you. It's about the people that are about to sign your checks for the next 12 years. This draft combine is not about you. It's about what others think of you. And even though, in society we shouldn't care that much about how other people, when you're interviewing for a job, and yes, the NFL is a job, and the combine and the pre-draft process is the interview. When you're interviewing for a job, you should care what people think of you. And Caleb Williams does not seem to. And I, for one, it's driving me crazy. If I was a GM, I'd be like, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good you are. And that's one of the reasons why I've been vocal about I think they should keep Fields and use the picks to build an actual team. It's because I've seen and heard what Caleb Williams has said. And I'm not buying it. That's not a guy I would want as the cornerstone of my franchise. I have not seen 1 ounce of humility in this whole process. And I think NIL is partially to blame for that. The next thing I want to talk about, speaking of blame, is the new Major League Baseball jerseys this season. They look bad. I don't know if you've seen pictures of it. I'll try to find one to put up on the screen. The numbers are smaller. The names are smaller. The material is thinner, different. You can see through the pants. You can literally read the jock tag of the jersey through the pants if it's tucked in. You can see players' underwear. It is bad. And what cracks me up is the Kansas City Royals are apparently asked the league to keep the larger names and numbers, and the league said yes. So if this is even an option, how are the how are the Royals the only team to have done it? Because from what I've heard, nobody likes the jerseys at all. But as bad as they are, I'm sure it's going to be corrected really fast. I don't think these jerseys are going to last very long. But what I want to mention about them specifically is that there's been a lot of blame going around to both Nike and to Fanatics. And CEO Michael Rubin of Fanatics believes that they are being unfairly blamed for these jerseys. And he had this to say, and I'll read it to you directly. He said, "This is a bit of a difficult position because for us, we're purely doing exactly as we've been told. And we've been told we've done everything exactly right. And we're getting the blank kicked out of ourselves every day right now. So that's not fun. Normally, when I get beat up, it's because I actually did something wrong. Here, I'm actually being beat up and I didn't do something wrong. I did exactly what we were instructed to do." Okay. Um, I take the words on the page at face value. Fanatics is not directly in charge of the design of the jerseys. But, and I can speak to this, and I'm not going to go in too hard on it, but I used to be an employee of that company that had nothing to do with the jerseys. And I can tell you that while they may not have had anything to do with the design, they do have a heck of a lot to do with the manufacturing, with the marketing, with the retail of the jerseys. And I've seen firsthand how little effort and care they put into that part of it. And I've seen that they can communicate directly back with the other company and say, "Hey, do you think these are good? Do you think these are good to go?" And if Nike says yes, that's on them. But I don't like that Michael Rubin is trying to wash his hands of the jersey thing because even if they didn't design them, they're still responsible for manufacturing them. And quite frankly, I've seen the way they treat their products. I've seen the way they treat their employees firsthand. I've been one of those employees who they treated poorly. I could write a tell-all book, and I don't want to zero in on that. But I have stories and I know things. But to say, oh, we shouldn't be blamed for this, I wouldn't want to call attention to what you shouldn't be blamed for, because there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and lose count of the amount of things you could be blamed for and have yet to take responsibility. Now, these jerseys I don't think are going to last long. I think there's going to be a change. But let me remind you, if you go to your phone and you click on what was Twitter, what is now X, there is a Twitter account with the name of Michael Rubin's company, followed by a disparaging word that has thousands of followers. And every time I open the app, there's another quoted tweet or a shared tweet from a customer that is raving mad about the prices being absorbently high and the quality continuing to decline. You have these jerseys that, when I was there, jerseys were expensive. They were anywhere from 70 to 150 to where if you got like a game worn or something, it could be pricier than that. Jerseys are now in the 200s, 300s, 400s. I saw one the other day that was north of $600. And it didn't even have a player name on it. I've seen I've seen tweets or whatever you want to call them of jerseys showing up ripped or stained. Or I've had products where the picture is gone after 3 washes. This Michael Rubin's company, and yes, I'm avoiding saying their name as much as possible. It's something I employ in my personal life. That tells you the stories I could tell about them. Michael Rubin's company makes a lot of excuses. I was there. They make a lot of excuses. And they also created for themselves a monopoly on the sports memorabilia and merchandise market that they intend not to relinquish. They have deals with all the leagues that are a decade long. They have no real competitors because the competitors they did have, like Majestic, they bought. They created a monopoly. And ever since they created that monopoly, their quality of the merchandise has rapidly declined because they know they no longer have a standard because they're setting the standard and they can get away with more. A former high quality brand that used to specialize in NBA fashion gear is having its reputation ruined. Other companies are having their reputations slashed because they got into bed with Michael Rubin's company. So I don't want to hear one word about we're being unfairly blamed for this X issue. Because there is no such thing when it comes to your company about unfair blame. That is the biggest load of hooey I've ever heard. I admittedly got a little heated there. I want to move on and stay in the realm of Major League Baseball. Ronald Acuna has been shut down for the rest of spring after right knee inflammation. And that's not that big a story. He's said he'll be ready for opening day. The Braves have said he'll be ready for opening day. He said he's ready to go right now. The story is fans. And I'm a fan, and anyone listening is a fan. But there are some fans. The second something happens, they're looking for someone to blame, someone to yell at, something to tear down, and say, "Oh, this is the reason." Blah 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 blah, all the time. And in this case, the people that are fans of Acuna that want to blame his right knee inflammation, which is mild irritation, mind you. He's not. It's not like 2021 when he tore his ACL. He's not going to miss an important game. He'll be ready. But fans still want to blame the fact that he played in Winter League for the reason why he's got this inflammation, why he's missing spring training games, why he's having this issue, this minor issue. And there's still a couple weeks full of worth of spring training. I personally think spring training is too long, but I get it. You have to ramp up, and it's because of reasons like this, where it's been a week or two now, like you've been off for 6 months, and it's not like these guys are sitting around on their couch eating potato chips for 6 months, but you've been off from regular, hyper aggressive professional sports activity. So I guarantee you, there's a lot of players in spring training right now that have inflammation, but it's not being made a big deal. It's only being made a big deal because this is the reigning MVP on a team that's expected to contend for a World Series championship. And people want to blame the Winter League. Just like last year when Edwin Diaz got hurt, when Freddie Freeman got hurt, when a couple other players got hurt, they wanted to blame the World Baseball Classic. And even the players in the World Baseball Classic that got injured, Edwin Diaz and Freddie Freeman, said, "This is some of the best fun I've ever had in my life." Absolutely deflecting the narrative that, oh, it's the World Baseball Classic's fault. We should cancel it. We shouldn't have it. We shouldn't. And I'm not going to go into the pride of country that brings or anything like that because I did that on a previous episode. But what I will say is that Ronald Acuna has come out and said, "Well, I played in the Winter League last year and I won the MVP. So where were you then? What did you have to say about it then?" And normally I don't like that kind of statement from a player because it seems kind of like it's clapping back at people that you don't need to clap back to. But Ronald does bring up a good point. A lot of players play Winter League. A lot of players played World Baseball Classic. Players have said, even in the aftermath of the injuries of the World Baseball Classic last year, have said, "Oh, I'm playing next time for sure." First of all, nobody knows Ronald Acuna's body and injury history more than Ronald Acuna. If he says he's good, he's good. If he says he wants to play in the Winter League, he's going to play in the Winter League. A little knee inflammation is going to happen if baseball activities are being ramped up after several months. It's going to happen. Go ask a pitcher that hasn't thrown a bullpen in a month. Ask them how sore they are the next day. There's probably some inflammation. It happens. So, is this an overreaction? To the highest degree. Ronald Acuna is the reigning MVP. He played Winter League last year, won the MVP. Winter League doesn't have anything to do with it. If anything, it keeps him warm so he doesn't have, so that I think Winter League may be the reason that he'll be ready for opening day because he played Winter League, because he's not starting from zero in spring training. His body's already warming up so that he could heal a little bit faster. If he hadn't played Winter League, it could have been a lot more serious. So, keyboard warriors, chill out. Like, if Ronald says he's fine, the Braves say he's fine. If players are behind things such as the Winter League and the World Baseball Classic, that's whose opinion matters. And if Ronald's going to be there for opening day, who cares? Like, he'll be there. It's not a problem. It's not a story. The Winter League and the World Baseball Classic and the Olympics, for that matter, because baseball's coming back to the Olympics, are designed to grow the presence of the game. And as a league, that's what you're trying to do. In every league, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to grow the presence of the game. And Ronald loves baseball and loves the game, wants to play it as much as possible. He was devastated when he had to miss the Braves World Series run. He's devastated when he has to miss one game because he fouled a ball off his toe. In an era where the NBA looks for games to miss, where NBA players look to sit out when they're healthy, look at baseball. Look at all the players that want to play one more game, one more game, one more game. If you looked at Ronald this offseason, he was taking swings from the left side of the plate. He was experimenting with switch hitting. And if he does that, look out, world. So leave him alone. He has inflammation. Inflammation is irritation. And that's going to happen when you play Major League Baseball for a living and then you don't play Major League Baseball for a while. Yeah, he had Winter League, but that doesn't last all off season. I guarantee you there are dozens of other players right now dealing with inflammation. But because Ronald Acuna is the MVP, because Ronald Acuna played Winter League, everybody gets all on fire about, oh, cancel the Winter League, cancel this extraneous baseball that's not regular season, blah, 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 because of this reason or this injury or this injury. Well, by that logic, you cancel spring training. If you cancel spring training, you're going to have more injuries. Like, yes, Freddie Freeman and Edwin Diaz and some other players got hurt in the World Baseball Classic, but they didn't regret it for a second. And the World Baseball Classic led right up to the regular season. So that warmed them up. They were playing meaningful games when everybody else was playing catch. It it warmed them up faster. Freddie Freeman had a great season following the World Baseball Classic. Ronald Acuna will undoubtedly be in the MVP conversation again. He says he's fine. The Braves say he's fine. He says he's ready to go right now. But as a precaution, the very precautions you're fighting for by trying to by trying to say players shouldn't play Winter League, he's probably shut down for the rest of spring training. So chill out. He's fine. The Winter League is good for the game, just like the World Baseball Classic. The last thing I want to touch on, and on this lunch break edition of Empire Sports Talk, is Jordan Hicks, newly acquired by the San Francisco Giants, signed a 4-year deal. Has been a reliever for most of his career because he's a hard throwing, a little bit wild pitcher that at one point was the closer for St. Louis and then moved all over the place. He's with San Francisco now, and they are experimenting with him as a starting pitcher. I heard this the other day, and it raised my eyebrows a little bit because generally, if you have the hard throwing closer that racks up the strikeouts, you generally want to keep him there. Uh, Aroldis Chapman. I know the Reds back when he was with the Reds, they thought for a second about making him a starter, and they thought better of it because of how hard he throws. That's a lot of tax on an arm. Jordan Hicks is the same. He throws about 102, maybe higher, but I know he hits 102. He's a bit wild. Uh, I did see he is adding a split change. Well, not adding. He's thrown it before, but very, very rarely. So basically, it's a new pitch. He's working on a split change, which personally I would not, if I was him, would not do a split change. I throw a split. I throw sometimes, and I've thrown for years, kind of self bullpens. And I'm not to Jordan Hicks's level. Obviously, I'm sitting here. I'm not in Northport right now or Arizona. But I know a splitter and I know a changeup. And at least for me, speaking personally, a splitter is one of the harder pitches to have command of because of how much it drops. And a changeup is one of the easier ones because of just the way it moves. It's more of a reliable get me over, get a strike in the strike zone pitch than maybe a curveball because usually you try to drop the curveball out of the zone to get a swing and miss because if you leave a curveball up and it gets hit, it's going to go a long way. The changeup is usually easier to command. Combining the two, I'm not sure the exact revolution or exact trajectory of a split change, but given the fact that in his career Jordan Hicks has been pretty wild, and throwing a lot of pitches in the dirt. I don't know if I'd add a split factor to the pitch. I think right now, for the most part, he throws a fastball, a four-seam fastball, and a slider. I could be wrong about that, but he's already had command issues with the two pitches he does throw. I would rather he add a regular change or maybe a circle change because I believe the circle change is a bit tighter. But he's adding a split change, which, because it's a change, will hopefully add some stability to his repertoire. He has, I will say, he is less wild than he used to be. He still throws a lot of wild. I think last year, in 60 something innings, he had 32 walks. He still gets more strikeouts than that, which is the appeal of Jordan Hicks, uh, getting the strikeouts with the 102-mile-an-hour fastball. But when he came in as a rookie in 2018, his strikeout to walk ratio is about 1.6. So, and during his tenure in St. Louis, he was down to 1.0. He had as many walks and strikeouts, but he has in the last couple of seasons. Last season, he had that ratio up to 2.5. So he is working on that command a little bit, but command is the most important thing a pitcher can have. Velocity is important, break is important, but the most important thing that a pitcher can have is command. Being able to put the pitch exactly where you want it at any time. And that's going to be the thing that Jordan Hicks needs to do. The Giants are already really thin at starting pitcher. They do have Logan Webb, who's one of my favorite pitchers in the league right now. And if Jordan Hicks is successful, they have him. They have a couple of prospects that they're excited about. But the the lineup is looking really, really good with the additions of Matt Chapman and Jorge Soler and Lee at the top of that order. But they don't have a lot pitching wise. And with Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell out there, I really think San Francisco would be wise to do something in that realm because of the fact that one of their projected starters is a guy that's never thrown for more than 78 innings in a season, and that is 12 quality starts, 13 quality starts, a third of a season if you're healthy the whole season. A healthy starting pitcher that makes every start gets somewhere between 30 and 35. And Jordan Hicks has never thrown for more than what would equate to about 13, 14, 15 starts. So the Giants really need help pitching. If they're gonna, I currently have them as third in a very tough NL West, because of Soler and Chapman and Logan Webb. But if they want to make the playoffs, if they want to get past the Dodgers, the Arizona Diamondbacks, potentially the San Diego Padres, they're gonna need. I say go get Blake Snell. He's been linked a little bit more to the Yankees in recent days. Jordan Montgomery's been linked to the Red Sox, but nothing is done. I think the Giants have said they're not really interested in adding anybody else, which I think is a mistake unless they know something about their guys, about their pitching staff that we don't. I did have to raise a little bit of concern about the report that Jordan Hicks, a known back end bullpen guy that throws hard but has been very erratic in the past, is going to be a starting pitcher. We will wait and see. I hope it works. I think it'll be a fun watch if it works, but we'll wait and see. That's all I have for you, but for this episode of Empire Sports Talk, I am your host, Roman Gennaro. It's a good day to go 1-0, and we'll see you next time.